Star Wars 7x7 episode 2746. On a few previous episodes, we've talked about what's to come in 2022 for movies and live action and animation. Well, we've got 9 other categories that we usually cover in the monthly episodes, and so I'm going to cover a few of them today, as well as some projections about what's not yet announced that we might get to hear about later this year. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, of the 9 other categories that we usually cover on a monthly basis, the 3 that we're going to cover today are books, audiobooks, and short stories. Seems like a good way to group them together. So, let's go backwards and start with the short stories. There are going to be 8 issues of Star Wars Insider coming out in 2022, starting with issue 208, which comes out this month, and 215 will come out in December. Here's the thing about the short stories that are in there. I'm not entirely sure if they're all going to be High Republic. And the reason why I say this is because we know that 208 is going to be the conclusion of Shadows Remain, which is a short story about Justina Ireland, which is the last story that is to be published for Wave 2 of Phase 1 of the High Republic. And then you would think that issue 209, based on the pattern that they've had over the last year, would start a new High Republic short story, and probably one by Cavan Scott, because Cavan Scott and Justina Ireland have been trading off for the most part in Insider. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And the reason why is because Titan Publishing, has already released cover images for their issue 209, their upcoming issue, and the little burst on the cover of one of them says, exclusive fiction and all new Star Wars story in this issue. And that's not how they've done it with the High Republic. They've been specific in saying an all new High Republic story in all their bursts on previous covers of the magazine. So I have a feeling that they might actually be going dark on short stories related to the High Republic, at least for a little while. Maybe they'll ramp it up later in the year, but it doesn't seem like 209 is actually going to be a High Republic focused short story. And covers haven't been released for subsequent issues, so can't project any further into the future than that. As far as audiobooks go, well, there hasn't been a lot announced that we don't already know about. And basically it's tied to adult and young adult books that are going to be released. And in some cases, middle grade ones get them too. Not always, but generally. So the things that haven't been announced that we can probably expect have to do with the Essential Legends collection. If you'll recall, they started that situation in 2021 and released, I think it was 4 novels the first time and 3 novels the second time under this new trade paperback, very cool printing situation. And they also gave an unabridged audio version release with each of these Essential Legends collection releases. So it was Shatterpoint in the first set of releases in 21, and then it was the original Rogue Squadron novel in the second release pattern in 2021. So here's what we know about the Essential Legends collection. There are going to be at least 2 releases in 2022. One of them is happening in April and another one is happening in August. The second and third novels in Michael Stackpole's run on Rogue Squadron, the initial run of those novels. So that would be Wedge's Gamble is the second one, and the Krytos Trap, pronunciation, is the third one. Those 2 are going to be included. So Wedge's Gamble is in April and the Krytos Trap is coming out in August. And just historically, both of them only had an abridged audio version that was narrated by Henry Thomas, as in, Elliot from E.T. But that seems like it's another situation where they're going to go with a full unabridged audio adaptation, just like they did with the original Rogue Squadron when it came out as part of the run of Essential Legends in the second half of 2021. All right, so let's move on to the books, the original books that are coming out in 2022. Obviously, we have The Fallen Star by Claudia Gray kicking off Wave 3 of Phase 1 of the High Republic, and that will continue with Midnight Horizon, which is Daniel Jose Older's young adult novel. That's coming out in February, and Mission to Disaster, which is Justina Ireland's middle grade novel. That's coming out in March. And in that High Republic anniversary show that we were talking about yesterday, Justina Ireland did say that there are connections to Phase 2 that we might want to pay attention to in that novel as well. Also coming out in March is the script for Tempest Runner by Cavan Scott. That was the original audio drama for the High Republic that was released last year. So we're getting a script version just like we did with Dooku Jedi Lost and Dr. Aphra, which is very cool. Then jumping to April, we are completing the trilogy of Padme Amidala's stories in young adult format. We had Queen's Shadow and Queen's Peril, and now we get Queen's Hope by E.K. Johnston. That's coming out in April. Then in May, we have Brotherhood by Mike Chen, which is an adult novel focused on Obi-Wan and Anakin during the time of the Clone Wars, presumably to capitalize on excitement around the Kenobi series, right? Then in June, we have a middle grade novel and an adult novel. The middle grade novel is an as-yet untitled novel tied to Star Wars Hunters, that game from Zynga, which is supposed to be coming from the Nintendo Switch. It's sort of a Fortnite, Apex Legends kind of game is what it looks like right now. And then Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher is coming out in June. That's the adult novel that focuses on Lando and Luke and their hunt for Ochi of Bestoon. And the last announced novel for 2022 so far is Padawan by Kirsten White. It's a young adult novel which focuses on Obi-Wan Kenobi's time as a Padawan with Qui-Gon Jinn. After that, things are fuzzy, but here's what is very likely. First of all, High Republic Phase 2 beginning, right? So that would be Quest of the Jedi, and we know from yesterday's conversation and from the High Republic Anniversary show that it is taking place 150 years in the past. So it does seem like the San Tekkas are actually going to be involved. I know I said that as speculation yesterday, and there's a thing about hyperspace mapping projects that began about 100 years before the launch of the Starlight Beacon. So yeah, it does feel like the San Tekkas are definitely going to be highly involved in that sort of situation. I mean, it just seems rather logical. And then, of course, there's a whole thing about Mari San Tekka and about how she gets captured by Asgar Ro, Mark Shion Ro's father. And so, yeah, I'll stop there. But it seems very likely that we're going to get the same set of three, an adult novel, a young adult novel, and a middle grade novel focused on Phase 2, Wave 1 of the High Republic Mega Storytelling Initiative in the second half of 2022. And the other thing to note, sort of related to another category that we're going to talk about in greater detail on an upcoming episode, is that Star Wars Celebration is still on the calendar for the end of May, and undoubtedly there will be at least one and probably more panels focused on Star Wars storytelling from DK Publishing and Disney Lucasfilm Press and other contributors and so on and so forth. And we are bound to get more announcements about future novels coming for the second half of 2022 at Star Wars Celebration. I mean, they usually save it for that kind of stuff. Although I suppose there's a very good chance that, you know, maybe on May the 4th, maybe a little bit sooner, that they might announce a couple of things that get us into the third quarter of 2022, and they may be reserving some of their Q4 and into 23 announcements for Star Wars Celebration. So we might hear a couple of things sooner, but we'll definitely get a lot of news at Celebration in May, late May. And so there you go. That is the rundown of what to expect as far as we know it so far, and as far as we can speculate with something resembling confidence for books and audiobooks and short stories for the world of Star Wars storytelling in 2022. And that is going to do it for this episode of the show. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.